Today's video is a real treat because we're actually going to be speaking to someone on the Twinkl innovation team. So they come up with all of the fun business ideas at Twinkl to keep it growing.
Innovating isn't just about coming up with ideas. The most important aspect of it is actually doing it.
And let's see what insider information we can get from them about starting your business. Hello, Jamie. I'm very excited to speak to you today because you work at Twinkl in the innovation department. So do you want to explain what your role is a bit?
Yeah, so thanks for having me, Sam. I'm a senior innovator at Twinkl, and my team and I are responsible for identifying new opportunities for the business. These opportunities can be new products, new investments, or new partnerships. The way that we find these opportunities are through speaking to customers and or sort of looking at the problems and challenges that they face, paying attention to the latest trends in our industry, so education, or observing what others in the industry are doing. The most effective way of innovating is to ensure that you're solving a real problem or pain for someone. So yeah, that's a little bit about sort of what I do.
That's really fun. So I can hear more in the background there, innovating. So I was imagining that everybody's just sat there writing loads of ideas down, but actually you look at the customers first and like actually spend more time researching, I guess.
And just to sort of build upon that, it's definitely, just to emphasize, a lot of people do think it's about coming up with ideas, but no, it needs to be something that does solve a problem. So Uber solved the problem of finding a taxi or needing to have cash in your pocket, amongst other things. And Netflix solved the problem of having to drive to the store to pick a movie up, or having to pay a fee if you returned it late or lost the film that you'd rented. So just a couple of examples that I threw in there.
So actually, do you spend time when you're innovating actually thinking of ways to solve the problem then? So that's kind of where the idea phase comes in, when you get to think of lots of fun ideas.
Yeah, definitely. So it's all well and good thinking of these fantastical ideas, but they also need to be viable as well. So it needs to be something that you could go out there and test, or you could implement. So let's just say teleportation, for example. That's not an idea that you could go out there right now and start to look at solving. But yeah, it needs to be a little bit realistic, a little bit of realism in there as well as an idea that's solving that problem.
Okay, so how do you actually come to lots of different ideas for possibilities of solving the problem, or do you tend to just go down one route?
We, as a team, we probably come together and sort of discuss multiple angles, multiple options, and then we use a technique called dot voting, which removes a lot of biases and a lot of often in a group setting you'll have someone who's very vocal and can often influence the direction that a group goes in, whereas dot voting allows you to, as a team, select the best ideas collectively without that need for someone trying to say, pick my idea. So we use a few techniques, and that's just one of them for it. We tend to suggest just going with one idea, the one that you think is going to be the most effective at solving that problem. And what you can do then is test it out. Does it work? Does it not work? If it doesn't, you've then got a bank of other ideas that you can start to explore as an alternative.
That's interesting. And how long do you spend on each of these processes? Is it an equal amount of time? Do you spend longer trying to find the problems or longer trying to, solve the problems, do you think?
Good question. I think we tend to spend understanding the problem is definitely the longest aspect of our role, because you're ideally speaking to people that have these problems, but you're asking them to give up their free time. You're asking them to give up, after a long day at work, you're asking them to talk to you a little bit about work. So that can definitely take the longest amount of time, but it's the most rewarding because you start to really understand who those people are, and not just like what the problems are, but how it affects them, and how much time it takes out of their time. So yeah, that's the longest aspect. So we do spend more time doing that, but it is definitely the most rewarding and most insightful part of our process. we'll then look at creating the ideas after that. So we will run a few sessions and we'll run a few activities that enables us to think of ideas. But yeah, the bulk of the time is definitely spent understanding what that problem is.
That's really interesting. And then once you've come up with your idea, is that it kind of done, or then do you like hand it over to another department, or do you have to carry on testing it?
Yeah, so in our role, we're quite fortunate that we have a large team, and what we'll do is bring in people that can help us to make those ideas a reality, whether that be or teachers around the business, whether it be web developers, whether it be partnerships team. We're fortunate in that aspect. Whereas if you're an entrepreneur, if you're working by yourself to start a business, you're very much reliant on just yourself, which I can imagine can be difficult, and that's where you sort of need to be resourceful and think about how can I get this done as quickly, as cheaply as possible. So that's definitely a challenge that we've not had to face, but I can understand some of our the people that are entering the competition might be thinking about.
That's a really good tip. Be resourceful, because you're the one kind of doing everything. But then it gives you a good understanding of your business, I suppose, when you become your global empire. And do you have a favorite innovation that you're allowed to share that you've worked on?
Favorite? My favorite has to be for Twinkl, where we've got quite a lot of people. I think we've got over 1,000 people now in the business. When I started, there was about 300 or so in the company. And it was one person's role to figure out where everybody sits, and if someone was to move seats, then that they would need to update a spreadsheet, which was very, very clunky. They would move that person, and they would have to move the person whose seat they were taking, move that other person somewhere else, and it was very, very time consuming for this person to do, and it wasn't their main role as well. So I designed and developed a tool that would allow them to drag and drop people's names into different seats within the business. So they would have a floor plan of the office. They could move him into Samantha's seat, and then Samantha into another seat, and it would all be automated. And you could do that for any person in the business. So when someone else joined, their name was added to this floor plan, and they were able to move people around. And after using that for a period of time, this person whose job it was or part of their job was to do this, just said how much time it had saved them having to mess around and manually put people's names in through a spreadsheet. And it doesn't sound because it's not customer facing, it doesn't sound like it would be too innovative, but for that person especially, it solved a real problem. And also the importance of knowing where people are sat within the business. If you need to go and chat to somebody about an idea, if you need to go and if you need to find a fire marshal or a first aider, those types of things were covered within this seating plan. So yeah, it was something I was quite proud of, actually, in the end.
Oh, that's really cool. Okay, so finally, what is it you'll be looking for in the pitches from our entrepreneurs as an innovator?
Yes, so I did come up with two things that I'd be looking for. If I was looking at someone's pitch, I'd be looking for a business or a product that solves a real problem. So I've talked a lot about that in this interview. And then the second thing is that I'd be actually looking for an individual or a team who are passionate about their business and in particular have that sort of determination to do it as well. So we spoke about someone who's resourceful, but yeah, what you see, you see a lot of success stories out there, but what you don't see is the hard work that went into actually creating that. Whilst I might not get an idea of who the people are within the pitch, you could probably get a sense from their, the way that they pitched it, the type of person that they are. So yeah, I'd be looking for business or product that solves a real problem and a glimpse into the person behind the problem, the idea and what they're like as well.
Oh, that's amazing. And do you have a final top tip for everybody watching?
My final top tip would be innovating isn't just about coming up with ideas. Most important aspect of it is actually doing it. So lots of people have ideas. We probably have lots of ideas every day, but it's those people that go out and create their idea or implement it that are the true innovators.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much, Jamie. That's amazing. I found that fascinating interviewing Jamie, especially the fact they don't just sit there all day coming up with ideas. And I think the real key thing that I took away from that was the fact innovation is about doing. It's all very well and good having ideas, but you've got to actually do something about them. I can't wait to see what you get up to for your ideas and your pitches.